These three leaders always have a lot of ground to cover when they meet. Together they oversee over 500 million people and almost 20 million square kilometers of land. But as the North American heads of state prepare to summit next week in Mexico's capital, the unrelenting flow of migrants to the U.S.'s southern border will take the spotlight. U.S. Customs and Border Protection counted nearly 2.4 million southern land border encounters in fiscal year 2022. Most crossings involve Mexican nationals, but a sizable number also involve migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Ahead of next week's summit, Biden announced new immigration restrictions and said he will make the U.S.-Mexico border visit his opponents have long been calling for.
Next week, I'm going to travel to Mexico, where I'm going to meet with President López Obrador. We have a big agenda that ranges from the climate crisis to economic development and other issues. But one important part of that agenda is strengthening our border between our nations. And I will visit the border myself this Sunday in El Paso to assess border enforcement operations, meet with the local officials and community leaders, and the folks at the border.
Some analysts say the focus on the border distracts from other important issues between the three nations, which have substantial trade, cultural, and environmental ties.
What should happen and what can happen are probably two separate things. I think all three leaders are going to be looking at this summit through a domestic lens and trying to make progress on the issues that affect them domestically in the United States. That's clearly migration.
But that focus can also benefit Mexico, say analysts, by distracting from its problems with security, the drug trade, democratic backsliding, and a major dispute with the U.S. over energy policy.
The fact that migration has such a political impact in the electorate of the United States that President López Obrador is using that as a way to force the Biden administration to turn a blind eye in many of these other abuses.
And Farnsworth urges leaders to look beyond North America.
If the meeting degenerates into a discussion of commercial disputes and border politics, I mean, those are important issues, don't get me wrong, but it means that the vision of a more unified and more competitive North America will once again be shoved to the side. And I think that's a real loss for the citizens of North America.
The White House says there are many issues to discuss over the two-day summit.
Address climate and environmental challenges, increase North America's competitiveness, protect the health and safety of our citizens, jointly respond to irregular migration in the region, and advance diversity, equity, and inclusion as well.
But with Biden visiting the Texas border before heading to the Mexican capital, this place, for so many people, the bristling border between despair and hope, is where all eyes will be. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.